Hi friends, welcome back. I'm so happy to be with you today. I'm going to bring you one of my favorite cake hacks that I like to do. I like to take cakes, ready-made cakes, and change them around completely. And I love German chocolate cake, so I've got 2 boxes of German chocolate cake. It can be any brand, but that's the only thing that we're going to use that goes with the recipe, okay? What I'm going to do is I'm going to dump both of these boxes into my mixer. As one. That's 2. Okay. All right, and to that, I'm going to go ahead and put my paddle blade on here. Not my paddle blade, I mean my mixing blade on. I've got 1 cup of oil. 1 cup of oil. I've got 1 cup of just plain water. And I've got 1 cup of coffee. Now this is a coffee that I made a little bit earlier. Of course, if you know me, I have coffee all day long. So I've got those in there. I'm also going to add 2 teaspoons of cocoa. I've got a box of chocolate pudding. I'm going to put a box of chocolate pudding in here. And I've got 6 eggs. I'm going to put about half my eggs in here right now. And the other half I will put in as we're going along. There's 2. There's 3. Okay, I'm going to put 3 eggs in here. I'll put this in here, and I'm going to start this off real slowly so it doesn't go flying. And while that's blending around, I get my other 3 eggs ready. If you like German chocolate cake, this is going to be a real treat because the flavor of this, because of the coffee and the cocoa, is really intense. And the icing we'll make is you won't believe. So I'm going to turn this up some. So I want to make sure I get all those eggs beat up well in here. And while that's beating, I'm going to go get a spatula. Okay, I'm going to scrape my sides down a little bit, make sure that I've got everything from the bottom. Make sure there's no cake mix left anywhere in here. Oh, the smell of chocolate. And a lot of German recipes, they use coffee. Coffee is a staple for a lot of recipes. I'm gonna let this stir for about maybe another minute. I tell you, while they're stirring, we'll show you what I've got here. I've got my oven set on 350 degrees, and I've got 2 9-inch cake plates, cake pans. And what I did is I always like to cut parchment paper for the bottom. You don't have to, but I find that putting parchment paper in the bottom makes it come out so much easier. So the only way that you can fail with this cake is if you don't grease it and flour it well. And that's really, really important. So in saying that, when I use the spray, I really spray it really well. It might look like I'm overdoing it, but I don't want my cake to stick. All right, there's one. Now what I'm going to actually do is actually take this piece of parchment paper, put it in the bottom, push it down, and then I'm going to respray my parchment paper all over again because I want this to come off the cake too. Looks like I'm out of 1 can of spray. Okay, that's 1 pan down. Now we'll take the other pan and start spraying that all the way around. I I don't like to waste anything, so I want to make sure that I had used all the spray in both those cans. Okay, I put the paper down in this one like I did the other one, and I'm gonna go ahead and spray this. Now what that's gonna guarantee me is that the cake is gonna come out very easily. So, let me set some of this up aside. Let me turn this on one last time. Okay, now we'll take this off. Okay, now this becomes a fun part because you want to make sure that you pour these evenly into your cake pans so they're both going to be about the same height. So we'll start off putting a little bit in this one. Then I move over here and I put a little bit in this one. And I'm trying to eye it as I go along to make sure that I have them both. Okay, and I'm gonna let this cook for about 35 minutes. But like I told you the other day, when you're doing cake mix or anything, bump them a couple times like that, and that way if it's in the air bubbles in the bottom, they'll come to the top. So I'm gonna put this in my oven for about 35 minutes, and then I'll come back to you. Our German chocolate cakes have been in the oven about 36 minutes, and they're ready, so I'm going to take them out the oven and put them on this rack to cool. So let me get them out the oven. And they are hot. That's one. And there is the second one. Okay, I'm going to let these cool down to when I can turn them onto a plate. As soon as they cool down, we'll do the second part. We get ready to start our second half of our cake, the most decadent part. And I needed a double boiler, so I took a big pan and I've got water that's really hot in here. And the smaller pan, I've got 2 sticks of butter. So we'll go ahead and set that in the water. I've got 2 cans of sweetened condensed milk. Okay, let me stir this one up. And now I'm going to add my second can of sweetened condensed milk to my hot butter. Let me get it all in there. Okay, at this time I'm going to add a couple teaspoons of vanilla. I'm going to add about a teaspoon of salt to it, and I'm going to stir it around just a little bit. And right now, while it's still cool, I have got 6 egg yolks, just the egg yolks. I want to put those in the mixture now while it's still warming up, because if not, I'll have scrambled eggs. So I'm going to let that cook with this. Now, this is a point where this takes a little bit of time. I'm going to have to stir this, keep stirring it for about 15 to 20 minutes. So let me keep on stirring this till it gets to the point where I can show you where to stop, and then we'll come back. Okay, I've been stirring this about 5 minutes, and like I told you, this is a very important part. This is one step that you cannot leave out, that you have to stay with it, because this is going to eventually almost get to like a custard consistency. So let me keep on stirring for about another 5 minutes, and then I'll be back to you. Okay, this has thickened up. And let me show you a test. If you take a spoon and take like the back of a spoon and you just put a space on it and you put it together, if the 2 custards don't run together, see that's not running together, you know your custard's ready. If it wasn't ready, it would all run together. So I know my custard's ready. So now I've got 2 cups of chopped pecans I'm going to add to it. And I've got 1 large bag of flaked coconut that I'm going to add to it. Now we'll move back over to the counter. Let me come back over here to you, and we'll stir it up in front of our cakes. Now I'm going to stir this all up to get the delicious topping that we want. Oh, that's going to be so good with all that coconut and the pecans. Okay, it's all stirred up, but I'm going to let it sit here just to set up for about maybe 3 minutes, and then we'll come back and we'll ice our cake. Okay, this has had a little bit of time to set up, and as you can see, it's a little bit stiffer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring my cake over here, and I'm going to get a big hunk of this icing, put it right on top. Pick one more. Then we'll take my spreader, spread it out. Okay, I'm going to spread this out to the corners, but you want to make sure that you have a lot of it on it. Don't be cheap with it, because this is your flavor. Oh my goodness, that just smells so incredibly good, and it looks so incredibly good. Push it all the way out to the corners, because you want to see on the outside. You want to see this delicious poking its little head out. Okay. Get that off, okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my second cake, pick it up very gently, and I'm going to set this right on top of here. And push it down into the German chocolate. Then we'll start putting some on the top here. I'm going to press this out. Wow, this couldn't smell any better. Make sure I get all this delicious pecan and coconut out of here. And the more you pile it up, the better it's going to taste. Okay, just spread this around. All right, and to top this off, I've got some whole pecans. Then we'll take and just spread on the top of it here, right in the middle. And there is our German chocolate cake.